Is there an interesting story about your application to YC?
There's so much behind Y Combinator. I mean, it was such a formidable experience. So thank you, Jessica, for creating it, by the way. But yeah, so it was actually our third or fourth time applying to YC, to be honest. It wasn't our first. And I'm not sure if you remember, but we were just like, we have to hack the system somehow. And so what we did was, before our Y Combinator interview, we asked a bunch of existing Y Combinator founders if they would host Grow With Us dinners on our site, pre-YC interview Grow With Us dinners, so that they would be kind of the main person at these dinners, and other YC hopefuls would come and eat with them to get advice and tips and such. And so,
like right before the interviews, right?
Right before the interview process.
Okay.
And
That's
so
pretty smart.
we did this. We hosted 20 Y Combinator dinners before the interview process. It got a lot of attention, and we kind of became known within YC as these guys that hosted these dinners on this platform. And so we tried to find every which way we could to get in. I remember even in our application video, we were in Chicago, and the main message we were trying to get out was, hey, Chicago's really cold. We would love to come to San Francisco for 3 months. Please get us out of here in the winter. And so thankfully you guys did. But it was such an amazing process. But it was our, I think, fourth time applying. And so we were like, let's find a way to be scrappy, to really hack the system so that they actually know who we are.
Well, it's funny that you bring up scrappy, because when I think back on you, and I have vivid memories of Grub With Us, but overall, the image is scrappy. You guys were scrappy. And that's the best way to describe you. I remember you would just make stuff happen.
I would say our batch was the last pure and poor batch at Y Combinator. I mean, we got $27,000, right? And it was in the middle of the batch when we got called, and they were like, hey, everyone come to YC for a special announcement. And we got there, and I vividly remember this so much, because you're talking about crying. I didn't cry with the birth of my two sons, but I kind of cried at this day. But we got there because, again, we were in so much debt from our cream puff stores and just previous startup ventures. We got $27K for joining YC. We got there, and I remember Yuri Milner walking out, and he kind of looked at us like, he was like, who are all these poor people standing in front of me, just hungry entrepreneurs? And then Ron Conway came in on the iPad robot. Trevor's iPad robot. Oh,
yes.
I was just going to say, I bet there's a robot.
This story has not been told on the podcast, though.
No way.
So keep telling the story.
So Yuri Milner comes out, and he's just looking at us, and we're like, we're not sure who this guy is, but he looks important. And then Ron Conway rolls up in the iPad robot. His face just appears on the screen. And he's like, everyone, we're going to give you $125,000 for each company, no strings attached. And all of us went crazy. I mean, I don't know if you remember the room, Jessica, but
I was going crazy.
Crazy. Everyone was like, oh,
it was an Oprah moment.
This is amazing. Because all of us were, all of us had just a tiny bit of cash to go through this program. But thinking about 4Xing the amount of money you got as a startup, it was crazy, right?
But so what I loved, it was for every one of you. It wasn't only the good ones, or whatever. It was every single one of you, no strings attached. I remember I was personally jumping up and down with excitement because I was so happy for you guys, because that was so much money back at the time.
It was. I mean, we were high-fiving every single person in the room. It was Oprah's Christmas. It honestly was.
Yep.
Now, if you look at that batch list, Carolyn, you'll know who's at the tippity top.
Oh, it's Goat Group.
Goat Group. You're doing the best in your batch.
Although this is a great batch. There's so many great companies in here.
Honestly, when we started the batch, there was one thing we really noticed. It was that we weren't the smartest people in the room. I mean, there was the co-creator of Django in the room. There was tech luminaries that were part of the batch. And Daisha and I, we honestly, from day one, we knew, we were just like, hey, we're honestly not the smartest people here, but let's work the hardest. And we made that our mission.